fallout this morning after the Trump administration confirmed it struck an alleged drug boat twice off the coast of Venezuela. And now bipartisan lawmakers are launching hearings pressing for more information, as some question if the administration's actions were legal. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
President Trump huddling into the night in the Oval Office with his national security team after the administration confirmed it hit an alleged drug smuggling boat twice back in September off Venezuela. A U.S. official and a source familiar with the Pentagon's actions tell NBC News the second strike was ordered after the first failed to kill everyone on board. The White House saying Admiral Frank Bradley, not Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, ordered the second hit.
Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco-terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
Admiral Bradley is overseeing a ramped-up U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, part of the Trump administration's fight against drug traffickers.
The president has made it quite clear that if narco-terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them.
The use of a so-called double tap is raising serious questions among lawmakers in both parties, with some saying that targeting incapacitated survivors after the first hit could be a war crime.
To look into this very, very diligently and appropriately, because there is the possibility of illegal activity by the armed forces.
The Senate Armed Services Republican chair saying classified oversight hearings could begin as soon as this week.
We're able to see videos and see what the orders were. We'll have a lot more information.
Promising a bipartisan push to get to the facts. Defense Secretary Hegseth is placing responsibility for the second strike on Admiral Bradley, while saying he stands by him and the combat decisions he's made, calling him an American hero. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The left's downward descent into utter darkness started long ago. Calling good evil is not new to them. In their latest continuation of that trend, they side with the cartel over American communities. Now, the people pumping poison into our cities are to be pitied. Do the Democrats have no shame? As stated in this Association of Mature American Citizens, AMAC article, the story begins on the first day of Trump's second term, when the president signed an executive order officially authorizing the designation of certain international cartels and other organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. This designation unlocked new tools for the Trump administration to do what previous presidents had failed to, namely, use lethal force to eliminate one of the most urgent and deadly threats to the American people. On September 1st, the military exercised this authority for the first time, destroying a boat full of drugs off the coast of Venezuela and killing everyone on board. Subsequent strikes have killed more than 80 people and stopped untold amounts of deadly substances from entering the United States.
Narco boats and putting narco terrorists at the bottom of the ocean because they've been poisoning the American people. And Joe Biden tried to approach it with kid gloves and allowed them to come across the border. Cartels take over community, 20 million people, hundreds of thousands of Americans poisoned. And President Trump said, no, we're taking the gloves off. We're taking the fight to these designated terror organizations. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we're stopping the drugs, we're striking the boats, we're defeating narco terrorists, and we're standing.
And Pete, you may say one thing, that drugs coming in through the sea by sea are down 91%. And I don't know who the 9% is.
I'm not sure either, sir.
But down 91% by sea.
We've had a bit of a pause because it's hard to find boats to strike right now, which is the entire point, right? Deterrence has to matter, not arrest and hand over and then do it again, the rinse and repeat approach of previous administrations.
The article continues. Drug addiction remains a scourge on our country, particularly in the small towns and rural communities that the political establishment abandoned long ago. 81,700 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2024. More than 100,000 died in each of the 3 years preceding that. Many of those drugs came through exactly the same channels that the Trump administration is now targeting. Some Democrats are going even further and calling for everyone involved to be prosecuted. Yet another transparent attempt to sow fear and uncertainty within the ranks and undermine the military's chain of command. Massachusetts Democrat Representative Seth Moulton told the Washington Post, "Mark my words, it may take some time, but Americans will be prosecuted for this, either as a war crime or outright murder." Why didn't Moulton have that same energy for Biden's 2021 drone strike in Kabul that took 10 innocent lives, including children?
Well, the U.S. military today acknowledged that a drone strike in Kabul they initially said killed an ISIS suicide bomber, in fact killed only civilians. The strike took place 3 weeks ago as the U.S. and allies were evacuating following the Taliban takeover. The head of U.S. Central Command, General Frank McKenzie, spoke to reporters this afternoon.
Having thoroughly reviewed the findings of the investigation and the supporting analysis by interagency partners, I am now convinced that as many as 10 civilians, including up to 7 children, were tragically killed in that strike. Moreover, we now assess that it is unlikely that the vehicle and those who died were associated with ISIS-K or were a direct threat to U.S. forces. I offer my profound condolences to the family and friends of those who were killed.
And we turn now to our foreign affairs and defense correspondent, Nick Schifrin. Nick, the big question, how did this happen?
Yeah, the military got the intelligence horribly and tragically wrong.
Although Moulton called the strike a tragic mistake, there was no call for prosecutions or labeling the act a war crime. Hypocrites. Even as their own constituents suffer and die from drug addiction, Democrats want to put military personnel on trial for murder, for rightfully killing the foreign terrorists who are supplying those drugs in the first place. Drug traffickers get to continue poisoning Americans, but the heroes who are eliminating them face war crime charges. This level of moral confusion is inevitable for anyone who rejects the God of the Bible. Claiming to be wise, you become an utter fool, unable to consistently tell the difference between a moral or spiritual right and a moral or spiritual wrong. But what do you think? Please like, comment, and subscribe below.